This episode is presented by TimeTrakGo, the simply better employee time clock software that is going to make your life easier. The unique graphical employee time card helps you quickly identify and fix mistakes, cutting your editing time in half so you can go on with your day. TimeTrakGo will not only save you time and money each week, but our easy to understand user interface and the ability to turn an ordinary tablet into a time clock will get your team up and going in just minutes. Now your hours can go to your favorite payroll systems, including Gusto, ADP Workforce Now, Paychecks, and more. Find out what a simply better solution can do for your business. To learn more and sign up for your 14-day free trial, go to www.timetrakgo.com. That's TimeTrak go.com or call 888-321-9922. Let's go.
Welcome back, folks. It's about payroll. We've got some awesome guests today. Walt, how you doing, sir?
I'm excited to have these gentlemen on. I'm looking forward to seeing what they say and the information that they put out. So I'm excited for today's show, man.
Yeah, likewise. So welcome, Brian and Chris from TimeTrakGo. We're going to learn a little bit about TimeTrakGo and the company. Of course, time and attendance is huge. I will introduce Chris first. You want to take it away and tell us a little bit about yourself, sir?
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you, Brian. Walt. We're excited to be here. I've been listening to you guys. Just love the passion you guys bring and the education that you bring into the payroll business. My name is Chris Rice. I'm the Vice President of Sales at TimeTrak Systems. TimeTrakGo being our latest and greatest invention. I've been in the technology business for over 20 years in sales roles. Really, as far as it comes to timekeeping and time and attendance, I'm the new guy. I've only been here about 2.5 years. Previously worked in home services and in the eye care business. So this is a different kind of thing for me, and I'll tell you a little bit about later. I'm the new guy here. I've got a great team around me that they provide a lot of great information and have really helped train me and educate me on this market. So awesome. I'm excited to be here. I'm based in Columbus, Ohio, for all you Buckeyes out there. And yeah, that's it.
And my friend Brian here, sir, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Brian, for having us here today. My name, Brian Zurawski. Worked in the time and attendance industry since 1997. Currently the product manager for the TimeTrakGo product, bringing years of industry expertise here. Started as a time clock service tech, actually, back in 97. So fixing the old mechanical ribbon, ink time clocks, paper time cards back in the day. Migrated into computerized time and attendance pretty much at the onset, mid to late 90s. I remember early on when I started, huge hospitals, a couple hundred employee hospitals were still using those paper time cards. It was at that very onset of time and attendance, again, mid to late 90s. Over the last couple of years, I did work for one of our dealers, as Chris mentioned, working direct for the corporate office, and took on the product manager role for TimeTrakGo.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, the thing is, Brian, on our team, Brian's not the most tenured guy. We've got people who've been doing this longer. It's crazy.
Cow. Wow. I like the origin story of things. And when you think about how payroll used to be and how intense it had to be with paper and ledgers and somebody with a calculator desktop trying to and tape, and it was like, wow, man, we've evolved so much. And that's what I thought of when you're telling me your story. I'm like, this guy's seen a lot of time clocks. Really the evolution of it. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
And so Brian, piggyback off that, tell me a little bit more, like how you've seen the time and attendance evolve through the years. Rules is like somewhere we can start, right? What have you seen rules wise back, right? Because it's got to be different from when you physically got to punch this thing to now it's on a phone. And
yeah, absolutely. If you think about it, years and years ago, it was that payroll clerk collecting paper time cards, bringing them back to an office, and calculating time.
Yep.
And early on, the time and attendance software was designed around her rules, right? So the way Betty in payroll used to calculate hours, and if you think about it, there might have been some shady rules that Betty applied to timekeeping. Set up a 30-minute grace window or some rounding that technically probably shouldn't have been done. So if you looked at the early timekeeping software, the rule set that it was capable of, because again, these companies, these manufacturing facilities, each had their own unique way of calculating hours. The rules had to be configured to handle these unique grace windows and unpaid periods and lunch rounding and different things like that, where the software had to be extremely robust, extremely capable. Now, you fast forward a few years with FLSA laws and some standardization across, there's a lot of that would technically be frowned upon these days, borderline illegal.
Oh yeah.
To
Oh yeah. I tell managers that all the time, because we still get the managers that are like, "Oh, I fixed that," and I'm like, "Whoa, what?
Yeah.
You do what now? No, hold on now.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't do that. That's against the law. You have to pay the person and coach the behavior, right?
Absolutely.
You got to pay the person." Like, yeah. Wow, I can't.
We hear that quite a bit, that, well, I don't want to pay them for that half hour they clocked in early. And you're absolutely right. Fix the behavior, keep them off the time clock. Not to mention, it's a liability having them on the clock early if there was an injury or something, but they shouldn't be doing that. So the evolution, a lot of what our industry has seen, we're not even touching a lot of those old rules and old configuration settings that maybe the software was capable of back in the day. They're basically obsolete rules in the industry now. There's no longer those unique, I don't want to pay this guy for clocking in a half hour early, or if you come in 1 minute late, we're going to dock you 15 minutes. That sort of stuff is really not happening these days. It's really just a change. And again, a lot of it is some additional laws that have been placed upon FLSA and different things like that. So it is a shift from years and years ago where it was every company did their own thing. And two different employees, even working, could get paid differently based on how that payroll clerk decided to calculate time. Definitely.
And I think we've seen a shift too. I think COVID spurred a lot of it, where you had a change in where for a while, and this has ebbed and flowed over the years, where the employer had more control. They were in charge. When unemployment's high, the employer has more control. The unions got involved. They put in some rules to protect the employees. That drove a lot of it. But then we saw during COVID, now hiring, unemployment's low. Employers are having a harder time finding people. They're changing, the rules are changing. Obviously, there are government laws as well. You're seeing a lot of different incentives that are being provided via how we track time. What could be, hey, we need to track your time to do daily pay. We want to offer that. Or the way they're going to look at how they pay people, because they're using it as an incentive. I think making it less complicated is a big part of it. And I'm just amazed at what our enterprise software in particular, what it can handle. It's insane to me. But I think I see it, and again, with my kids, they're that early in their careers, they want simplicity. How many hours? What am I getting paid for this many hours? When does overtime kick in? What do I get paid for that? That's it. And how do I put in for time off? They want to keep it very simple, and that transparent. I think that's something that is a change that we're starting to see more and more. No question about it.
Agreed. Nice. Yeah, absolutely. What are you guys thinking about the equipment, that evolution, right? Brian, you've seen these older pieces. What is it now? From then to now, how did that look?
Yeah, no, Brian was telling us about how he used to tether the clocks together. It sounded like a cup and string. The way things were done. I
could actually even date myself a little bit more. years and years ago, again, probably back in 97, I was on site installing our time and attendance solution, and the company had a time clock made out of wood. It was a wooden time clock,
What?
probably dating back to the 1940s. It was a gigantic device made out of
museum piece.
wood. Absolutely. And you would put your time card in and punch the time clock. So that's probably the oldest time clock I've ever actually saw and had my
Holy
hands on.
cow.
That's how old it was. Now, over the years, that transitioned. I remember back in the day, IBM used to make time clocks. Not a lot of people know about that. There
I
was
believe it.
old IBM time clocks. Again, you're talking ink and ribbon and
Yeah.
a half a quart of oil inside this big machine that had gears and everything. And it was actually funny. You could see my passion. I really do the time and attendance industry. That actually migrated into a older time clock, again from the 1960s or 70s, that was a quote unquote computerized clock where every hour it would shift and move the imprint position. So it would know when the employee put their card in the morning to print at the bottom. And then during the day, it would move up the card and over. So it would shift from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday, and it would shift up. And this was a marvel. If you opened up this time clock, the amount of gears and levers and pulleys and different things, it was honestly crazy back in the day.
Wow.
And that was probably a device that weighed 60 pounds. This was a gigantic metal box. And then that shifted into the early onset paper time cards that calculated time. There was a company out there, you would drop your card in the morning, drop your card in at night, and when your card came out, it actually told you had 8 hours for the day, and at the end of the week, it would total up your hours. The only problem with that was when you missed a punch on Wednesday and you clocked out on Friday, your hours for the week would be completely...
Which still happens to this day, just digitally.
Exactly. At least you could correct it today. Back in the day, you punched out at the end of the week, and it said you had 200 hours of overtime because there was 5 days in between your punches. That actually then shifted to the first computerized actual time clocks, and they would connect up to a computer using a serial cable. You would go from the time clock to the back of your computer in what was known as a serial port. So computers don't even come with a serial port on them. But back in the day, as Chris alluded to earlier, I remember wiring up a company for their time clocks, and it would be a week-long event, just wiring up the company. And it would be a wire that ran all over these plants and all over these manufacturing facilities, and it would often go from clock to clock to clock. The downfall of that would be if that wire broke anywhere in the 5,000 feet
like
of
the Christmas
wire.
lights. One bulb.
That's what I was thinking. It's the Christmas lights.
Christmas
One goes
light.
out, they all go out.
One bulb
They would all
goes
go out.
That's it.
And it would be a nightmare trying to track down what went wrong in that scenario. And not to mention communicating and getting the data. It wasn't real time. It was, you'd go into the software, push a button, and if you had 15 time clocks in your manufacturing facility, that process of collecting data, think about the internet back in those days. You had a dial-up modem. You're talking like dial-up modem speeds transferring a lot of data. It would be a half-hour procedure to communicate to all of these time clocks one at a time. It would communicate to one, communicate to two, and the amount of data that came out of there, it was a process to get all that data into the software. And that actually ended up transitioning years later into Ethernet. And that's still widely used today. Ethernet communications, if you think of any company, most of the computers are hardwired. So Ethernet brought faster communications. And that's almost where we're at today. If you think about it, you're talking hardwired time clocks, Ethernet, and what used to take a half hour was taking, 10 seconds. And that actually ended up migrating into real time. Okay, so now that the time clocks are hardwired, there's no reason why you've got to wait and get punch transactions every half hour. It started to be real time. You swipe a time clock out in the plant, even across the country, and somebody back here in the East could look at that punch, come in absolute real time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long after Ethernet that you started to see Wi-Fi time clocks, right? Again, back in the day, Wi-Fi was an expensive add-on, but now it's the preferred communication method. So now you could add a time clock. You don't have to be that guy lugging wire around the facility. You could just hook up a Ethernet or Wi-Fi enabled time clock. And lastly, we're seeing that shift right now into Android-based clocks. And why I say that, if you think about it, the touchscreen time clocks of today, they're Android-based. And if you go back and look, really on a day-to-day basis, Android is everywhere, right?
Yep.
It's your POS terminals, it's your self-service. You go to a fast food restaurant and you're ordering on a kiosk, that's probably running Android underneath.
Absolutely.
So that actually leads you into tablets. Today's time clock doesn't have to be that expensive piece of hardware as you knew it years ago. Doesn't have to weigh 40 pounds, a boat anchor of a time clock. Today's iPads and Androids are essentially a time clock. You put an app on them, you configure them, you hang them on the wall, they're Wi-Fi enabled, and the punches come back in real time. So that is the evolution I saw over the last 25 years, is going from paper time cards that had to be collected one at a time and tallied up one at a time to something as simple as hang an iPad on the wall and you've got yourself a facial recognition, touch screen enabled time clock. That iPad has more power than any clock in its past, if you think about it.
Wow.
Yeah. It is a continuing evolution. And I think
absolutely.
One of the things that we see, again, from our people we talk to every day, there's still a demand out there for that physical time clock. And I think it's more perception. Like Brian said, in our eyes, this tablet, you put it in a case and you hang it on the wall.
Done.
It's the same thing as a time clock.
Yep.
I think there are some, it's depending on the environment. I think like a more manufacturing or warehouse environment, they want that sturdy, culture. They want what they see as a time clock, but it's the same thing, really. It's just how you present it, how you display it, and the employee experience is going to be simpler, simple, easy. It's right there, and the cost.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to get to.
Yeah,
the cost. You save so much money. I think when the last time I installed a physical clock, it was like $1,000 a month per clock to lease. And that's crazy. Right there was a barrier for it. When the owners heard that, they were like, oh, forget, no, what else can we do?
Yeah.
You can do a tablet.
Well, and I think there's, that's a change that we're seeing because, and I think it has impacted the time and attendance business.
Yeah.
We still get a lot of requests coming in when we get lead forms, whatever they say.
How do you guys deal with those?
They tell us we want a no subscription, fingerprint, facial and time clock, and it's a business of 15 people, and it makes no sense to put an on-premise solution on. Hey, it's going to be $20,000 before you get into clocks, and then you're looking at $1,500 a clock. But where for a small business, the cloud is secure.
Yes,
it's fast.
Yep,
we can have a customer up and running in a matter of 15 minutes. Especially if they have a tablet, they can have a clock up and running. It's a change, as you said, in that perception, that culture, where I think people were traditionally, they want to have, I want it on my servers. I want something that looks like a physical, a sturdy clock, an old school clock, where it really, with today's business, it doesn't make sense. A cloud-based small business, especially, it's scalable. It's the low cost of entry. You probably have an iPad or an Android tablet lying around the office.
Yep. And if you had to
again,
invest, it wouldn't be that much to get something to
Right.
function for that.
Yeah. So we're testing some out now just so we can let people know, hey, here's what we suggest. And they're
Good.
between $50 and $200.
Yep.
So we're trying
Wow.
to find what's the
That's
sweet
super
spot there.
affordable.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's just for the case. And then the tablet, what an iPad runs, if you want to get a used
Yep.
one or an Android tablet, it really depends on what your preference is.
Yep.
And of course, a lot more depending on the business mobile. The employees have their own phones.
Yeah.
They're clocking in that way, and you can use GPS to reach their end. There are some, that's something we also see evolving. There are some rules. If the employee uses their personal phone to clock in, is that then a business phone? There's some states that are addressing that.
Oh, really?
So it's interesting. We've heard that a little bit. So
And-
it is interesting.
Chris, let me cut you off, because now as we get right into TimeTrakGo, tell us who TimeTrak is, and now
Okay.
TimeTrakGo.
Yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about it. TimeTrak Systems has been in the time and attendance business for over 40 years. It's really that's all we've ever done is time and attendance.
Nice.
I've been around for 2.5 years. I'm the new guy.
You're the new. Yep.
Brian
You're
has
a
been
rookie.
doing this for 27 years. Before, we used to have a dealer network throughout the country. We've really gone more direct at this
Okay.
point with our enterprise product. And that's where Brian came from. We brought employees who had experience in our product
That's
and
right.
worked
That's
for
smart.
dealers. Now they're employed by TimeTrak. And so our team, you talk to our support team, and these guys have been doing not only time and attendance, but TimeTrak for 10, 15, 20, 25 years.
That's awesome.
This is the team we're dealing with. And people, it's great. We're a small team, but we're passionate, as you can see with Brian. And we just know time and attendance.
Yep.
That's all we do. And we specialize in it. And with our enterprise product, which has been our bread and butter over the years, and it's made from the 2 to 500, so not the huge companies, but we saw a need for something more modern, simpler.
Yep.
And Brian, I'll let you talk a little bit more about then how TimeTrakGo evolved out of our enterprise product.
Yeah, absolutely. So it actually started right before COVID. Everybody references COVID. That's a reference point on a lot of dates, but we started designing a simple solution, 14-day free trial, sign up today, start using it right before COVID. And then COVID hit, everybody got pretty much sent home from work. So we actually offered our solution completely free. I think we did 90 days or so at the very onset of COVID.
Smart.
To help those companies who sent those employees home. All of a sudden, you need to keep track of their hours. So we had hey, use it free, 90 days. And everybody thought the early onset of COVID, in 90 days, it would go away and everybody would go back to work. Little did we know it was 3 years in the making here. We ended up coming out with this solution, unlike the enterprise product, as Chris said. The enterprise product had a very long sales process, a very long installation process, and onboarding and training and implementation. We never really had that solution for somebody who just wants to get up and going with a simple product, start using it today, and start seeing the benefits today. So TimeTrakGo came out. Super simple, 14-day free trial. There's a wizard. It guides you through. It'll ask a few simple questions on rounding, your overtime, whether you're weekly, bi-weekly, and within a few minutes, you could start using this product. It doesn't bog you down with all those crazy rounding and grace, and it's really just a straightforward, simple timekeeping solution.
Wow.
I love it. I can attest to that, by the way. I did demo it for the 14-day trial. It was really easy to use, got through it smooth. Good product.
And we've taken a visual approach with it. One of the things that we use is graphical time cards and these puzzle pieces, which is a unique piece about TimeTrakGo, where you can really easily see if there's an error, if there's something wrong, make the correction and move on. And that's what our goal is, again, make it easy for not only the employee, but also the payroll staff. They can quickly see mistakes, and that's where we're focused on. We like to, as we say, it's simply better. And that's what we're trying to do, is use our experience and everything we've learned over the years. And we're very methodical about it. And we're not rushing anything. We're very Talk about how we not only build the product out to make sure we do it the right way. We get a lot of feedback from our customers. We're always looking for more feedback from them to how we, continue to develop in the future. We've recently added payroll interfaces with some of the major payroll companies.
Good.
Because while a lot of them, we've seen a big shift into all-in-one. Everybody's offering payroll systems, offering their own time.
What does that mean? I'm sorry to cut you off. What is all
kind of an all-in-one solution? They offer time. They do payroll. They also do time and attendance.
Oh, okay.
So they have their own modules, and a lot of them they've acquired companies along the way and kind of bolted them on, and they really don't always work together well. So we're trying to be that where if you just want simple time and attendance, that's all. That's what we're going to offer you.
Yep.
And that's where we find our niche, and also just being great to work with. We've got an incredible team, very friendly. That's one thing we see in all of our reviews is our team and just their experience is.
That's important. Yep.
Yeah, I don't hear anything. It's really unmatched, and it's something I've seen it since I've only been here 2.5 years, but looking at TimeTrak versus other places I've been, seeing that wealth of knowledge and experience and just good people.
There you go.
It's really been amazing, and it's something that as people work with us, they see that very quickly, and they like us.
It's
I'm
important.
tell you, Brian, they like us.
That's important. And
even the ones who leave, they leave. Sometimes we can't. Hey, it's not a fit for everyone, but they always do say, "Hey, you know what? We love working with you guys. It's just not the right fit for what we're doing." But to me, that's a win. That's all we. That's all we can do.
Because they'll recommend you to the one that does that it is a fit for. And that's one of the things as a payroll professional and now HR professional through the years is I partner well with my vendors. They're our partners, right? And they have to be, but they have to know that they have to have that mentality as well. We're your partner. Some of these folks who are too big to fail, they've forgotten that for a long time. And it is what it is. You said the all-in-ones, and now I know what you mean, because it usually isn't all-in-one. I can't even really think of a system that is, because like you said, they're buying other technologies.
Yeah, they're bolting them on, and they're trying to make it work. They're rebranding it, and that can be fine. We want to do what we do and do it better than anyone else. That's what TimeTrak's always been about.
And what we've learned doing this show, really, and what we've known, but the show just talking to so many different people in the business validates it, is that there is no one size fits all. There is no one solution for every company. You got to find the right one for you. You got to find the right fit for you. So I love that
and that's
about
what we've
you guys.
Found.
Yes, I love that.
And we found that with it being, we're really excited that traditionally with our enterprise product, and I've sold enterprise software for most of my career, and it's a long, as Brian said, it's a long cycle, and you have to really work with that customer to make sure to identify it's the right fit. And sometimes you're going to miss. You're going to make the sale, and you're going to get down through implementation and realize, okay, because you can never ask everything.
Yeah.
And something can come up, and you know what? Doesn't work.
Yep.
With TimeTrakGo, having the ability to do that 14-day free trial, hey, try it.
Figure it out.
And that's the beauty of having something like this. But the challenge is where it's really a good fit for, millions of small businesses throughout the country, and to market to them, that's a challenge. We found a few niches that we've done pretty well in healthcare, construction, healthcare practices in particular, that have really been started there. We're seeing some others. Brian, I know you had a couple yesterday that you saw a couple of other industries, but really it's a fit for anyone who wants a simple time and attendance solution.
Yeah, that's awesome. Keeping it simple. I love it. Chris, like you've mentioned the future of it all. What do you want to share about where you're going?
It's really going to be more continuing to educate folks on the changes of tech, how, again, talk about time clocks. How a time clock is basically, it is a tablet. I mean, the ones that you have right now, it's a tablet in a different case. Being able to educate people on that, and also the safety of going to a cloud-based product versus having to have something on premise. Finding it, finding the right thing for your business.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
I think safety with your data. Okay. I think that there's always been a question about that with the cloud. Ever since I started selling cloud products, people, they're leery of it. I don't want to put my information out there. It could get hacked, or I could have access. We've seen it's almost I think businesses have forced it to this point where they're pushing people there. So many are only offering cloud solutions, and that's it.
Correct.
You want to work with us, you're going to go cloud.
Yeah.
Even some of the biggest players in the HR tech area are pushing cloud. And that's because it has become safe. Whether we look at what Amazon Web Services is doing or Microsoft, the investments they've made in the cloud, it's how we live today. And you have to go with that. And from a business point of view, it is again, that low cost of entry and the scalability of cloud to go up and down has been something that I think really works for businesses, especially we've seen, let's look at seasonal businesses. You can put in a cloud-based product and you're only going to pay for employees when you have them. So in the summer, a summer camp,
when they peak,
they got a lot of employees in the summer. Off season, they don't. They're only going to pay for what they're using at that time. That's a much better financial decision for that business versus investing in an on-premise solution, which you're going to have to, because everyone who say, I want no monthly fees. Well, even if you don't have a monthly fee, you're going to pay annual support.
Sure.
You're going to have upgrades of that. Yeah, you're going to have upgrades of that service, that software to stay up to date with it, whether your servers change or their software changes. There are always going to be expenses. So the cloud is really the best investment for a business. And I think continuing to preach that message and educate people on it, that's where we're going to see that change. It's going to be more cloud, more bring your own tablets. Simple. Brian, do you have anything you want to, or
before you go, Brian, I'm sorry, and maybe you can answer. Maybe it's a tough one. Cyber security, right? We're talking about cloud. We cover on the show, Chris, if you're watching, a lot of cybersecurity stuff. How are you guys addressing that?
Yeah, and Brian, do you want to talk about that with our
a couple things. Actually, I would go as far as saying the cloud is typically more secure. The cloud is always updated, always up to date, using the highest encryption available. More often than not, even on the enterprise product, we hear, oh, my server crashed, or we got hacked and it was a ransomware attack. We just had this in the enterprise product. I think within the last year,
I'm sure
the entire company's network was under a ransomware attack, and they had major issues getting their history and their data and all that. So there's a lot to say. I think the argument of the cloud is not secure. I'm going to say it's probably more secure than your local on-prem system. I remember years ago, we had a customer who they had the most sophisticated network you could imagine, and they thought they were backing up their program. And here, their backup, there was a problem with their backup and their hard drives died. They actually, this company was a large company. They actually took their hard drives to a company in New York City and paid a company something like $15,000 to rebuild the mechanics of the hard drive that failed. Because otherwise, this company would have lost years and years of history. So when you start talking cloud and these servers, they're basically virtual machines. You spin up a new instance, you shut one down when peak hits and it's a busy time. The way our software is built, additional servers spin up and then they spin down during the off-peak time. It load balances perfect. You don't have to worry about anything. And a server crash doesn't really exist in the cloud. They're virtual servers, virtual
redundancy. That's
the redundancy, exactly.
So I would say absolutely, cloud is likely more secure these days than, if you look at it, 99% of payroll systems are cloud-based. Your bank, everything's cloud-based. That argument of, oh, it's not secure, it's as secure as it is anywhere else.
Yeah, and you're right. It's not that it's not secure. It's just that it's just ramping up. It's like anything else. If they want it, they're going to get at it. They're going to keep trying to get at it. And it's up to us, right? I have two very close cybersecurity experts, and they're like, you just have to stay educated. You have to stay on top of it, because there is no solid prevention from it. You just have to stay educated, and that's it. That's how you combat it. So I'm glad to hear good news and reminding people of these things, right? that most of the cloud is good. We just have to look and be wary of these attacks out there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
And if you look at, like Brian said, when you're looking at, if you're managing your own servers, you may have somebody, an IT staff, but again, how much time do they have to dedicate to security
Oh yeah, a lot.
on that versus
Yep.
somebody like it would be AWS, Amazon Web Services, where that's all they do. That's their
Exactly.
job, is to stay on top
Exactly.
of this. And if you
Yeah.
if you have this a partnership and working with somebody who has that, you're
Yeah.
as safe as can be, really.
I love
You're
it.
never going to be 100%, but as safe as possible.
No,
You don't have to-
and that's
where
what
you go.
that's what we're saying again,
Yeah.
because when the experts say that your only offense is education,
Mhm.
there is no one software that I can put around my system that will keep everybody out.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Right.
exist. It won't happen.
Right.
I've been teaching myself about blockchain and learning about blockchain, and even that, they're like, it's not 100%. It's supposed to be, but it's not. It's more you know what I mean? So it's wow, look at that. So it's just about education. It's about knowing what it is. And I love it. I love it. What do you guys want folks to take away learning about TimeTrakGo?
The biggest thing is it's not a hassle. It doesn't have to be the headache that a lot of people think time and attendance has to be. The graphical nature of our time cards just makes sense to people.
Yeah.
So whether you're a single admin system, 10, 15 employee company, or maybe you got 100 or more and you have multiple managers and supervisors, it doesn't have to be a scary change. With our product, it just makes sense. Somebody could log in and without even being trained on that product, it's so intuitive. They know immediately how to address a missing in punch,
Yep.
or they know how to address when somebody forgot to clock out for lunch or break or anything. It's so easy, so intuitive to do. I think a lot of people are afraid of the technology still, especially if they're coming from another system that maybe that onboarding process wasn't as easy as it should have been.
Yeah.
They're using a competitor's product or they're using an old outdated solution and they just think back and remember, wow, again, like I said, back in the 90s, installing a system was an ordeal. It was a huge undertaking. In today's environment with our TimeTrakGo, doesn't matter if you're 5 employees, 50, 100, you get yourself a few tablets, a few iPads, you hang them on the wall. We could have that system up and going in an hour if you really wanted to. And that's the beauty of Go.
Awesome.
And the best part about it is if you have any issues, you pick up the phone or you get on chat and you get somebody like Brian. Yeah, our team is all US based. We're all here and we're very hands-on with our support. And said Brian does a lot of it himself. Still, he's our product manager, but he's doing a lot of that support and that onboarding and helping customers out. We're here to help. We want to, and we want the feedback, even if it's not a fit. We're very
Love it.
Persistent about asking people if it's not a good fit. Hey, why not? What are we missing? What do we need? Because we want to get better. We want to get better every day and keep things simply better, but continuously better.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
I love it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've been really blessed with our partners and the folks that we've been building relationships with, because it's been a pleasure, Chris, to build a relationship with you guys. And I think what we've gravitating to is just great customer service, right, Walt? Like the other partners we have, just outstanding customer service, outstanding professionals that we meet that do this. And if we're known for introducing folks to outstanding brands, man, that's amazing, right?
That's same here, and we feel the same way. And then that's something, again, we take amazing pride in that. I just think every Thursday morning we do a team meeting because we've actually, with COVID, we went completely remote.
Yep.
We had an office. They're based in Port Huron, Michigan, where we had an office. But when they sent everybody home for COVID, people liked it. They liked being remote. They liked the working that way, and they're great. So the company stayed remote. So when I came on board, there was already remote, and so we do a Zoom call every Thursday morning with everybody.
Nice.
And we take 45 minutes, and everybody just States, what's going on?
Yeah.
And they said that's the kind of environment that we have, and it's amazing. And nobody has better stories than Brian Zurawski. I'm going to tell you right now. This guy, get this guy in some bees and watch out.
Just the stuff that he was telling me, I'm like, dang, we need like a museum to highlight this stuff. And because I would absolutely go to this museum and take my kids. This is my craft. I've been in payroll 25 years. This is what it's about. This is what it's evolved from. I would love. All right, I would do that. Like,
I would love to see that wooden time clock.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what made me think of it. It's like, and I'm glad I know this, because I'm gonna find a place to drop this in there, because you work with teammates that we forget how far we've come with technology. There's that joke, right? That it's not loading quick enough. Oh, it took 30 seconds and not 3 milliseconds. Yeah. Really? You just pulled up a movie on your phone in 30 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now?
We've become
very impatient. Well, I got to remind people, hey, people used to punch in on a wooden time clock once upon a time. We used to have to run.
Remember back in the day when the internet would be busy? Back in the AOL days, you would call the internet and it's like, oh, the internet is busy. I've got to try back later. And that was just crazy back in the day.
Yeah.
Again, that's when
or somebody was on the phone and you can't dial up. Like, come on.
Yeah.
What's up, Mom?
Do you remember Gateway computers?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Gateway. Oh, yeah. That was my first computer. Gateway. Goddamn thing weighed 1,000,000 pounds. I had to put it on. I was in college, like waiting for my mom got it from me in college. Oh my God. And it was crazy.
Came with that CD. You know, you had the AOL CD.
Well, I might have you guys beat there. Mine was Commodore 64.
My cousin had that one. I couldn't afford that one yet.
With a 300 baud modem.
Wow.
If you guys don't know what that means, I don't know if I still have it here in my desk.
Could you make the red balloon or no? That's the
So this, I keep it in my desk as a. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see it here.
Yeah,
you can.
There we go.
I got to turn off my background. So it's
a
300 baud modem, which is
baud?
Yeah,
exactly right. It is slower than slow modem. And I date myself back to pre-internet, when you would dial up to these local colleges and connect into the local colleges. Yes. Pre-internet days.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I think my first computer, I was probably 6 or 7 years old.
I think you just qualified as official nerd status.
Yes.
Yeah, with that, I probably do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah. You see, and I love it. And just to leave folks with, this is a company that has the expertise, right? You don't want talk to anybody else about time and attendance. Like this is it for you. That's great, man. You guys are really lucky.
We love
to
it.
Have
Anybody
them.
Give us a call. So we have people that'll talk to me. But if you're trying to figure out what you need to do,
yep.
Like I said, we've got great resources.
Exactly right. That's awesome. TimeTrakGo, folks. All right. Thanks for joining us, man. We love it. Thank you guys so much.
We appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Chris. It's been a nice working up to this, man. We're so excited to be working with you guys. Can't wait to see where it's going. Can't wait to see where the journey's taking us, man. I love it.
Same here. Love what you guys are doing, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a great day. Talk to you soon, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to It's About Payroll. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and most importantly, keep going.